It's September 6, 1995. We're at Camden Yards and the Orioles are playing the California Angels. But us, this crowd, the president, we aren't here for the final score. When the Orioles get one more out and end the fifth inning, this game becomes official. And when this game becomes official, history will be made. Let's rewind. This number on the B&O warehouse at Camden Yards is Lou Gehrig's record for most consecutive games. It was a record that was supposed to stand for all time because everyone assumed only one very unique person could do such a thing. Lou Gehrig played for the Yankees without stopping from June 1st, 1925 until May 2nd, 1939. How? Well, according to a Columbia University medical school exam, he had an extremely high pain tolerance. I don't want to imagine what went into that exam, but the findings implied he was playing through stuff that would make everyone else on Earth curl up in a little ball. But by 1938, something was going on. In the 1939 season, he played 8 games, went 4 for 28, and then told his manager to take him out. He wasn't helping the team, so he didn't see a point in continuing to play. Let the streak end. He was soon diagnosed with ALS, now also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. It was this ghastly disease that ended his streak at 2,130 games. When he passed away at age 37, Yankee Stadium honored him with a memorial stone that read, in part, "A great ball player whose amazing record should stand for all time." That wasn't a judgment like no one should break it given the choice. It was a prediction that nobody would or could break it. For decades, the closest guy to Gehrig was 800 games behind him. In the 70s, Steve Garvey got within 100 games of that, and everyone was like, wow, good job, Garvey. But then there was this guy, Cal Ripken Jr. Nobody saw him coming. So, who is he and where'd he come from? Ripken's from Maryland, drafted out of high school by the Orioles in 1978. For a time, Cal actually didn't want to go to the Orioles. His dad, a former minor leaguer, was the O's third base coach, and Ripken Jr. didn't want to be accused of nepotism. Which is exactly what happened when he struggled his first year in the minors. His dad insists he had nothing to do with the Orioles drafting Ripken Jr., and honestly, his dad seems like kind of a hard ass. When the younger Ripken was called up in August of '81, his dad wasn't excited and expressed only moderate pride. But I guess that's the kind of parent you have to be to raise an adult who never takes a day off. 1982 was Cal's first full season in the majors, and also the year his streak started. But, nobody knew that at the time. At the time, all they knew was, this kid's real good. The following season, his streak was still building, but wasn't top of mind, cause there were bigger headlines that year. As his streak kept growing in the background, Ripken became a decorated perennial all-star. Even if you focus only on his hitting and fielding, he's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. The streak is just the cherry on top of Ripken's career. Though a cherry seems too small. I mean, look at all this. The streak is the county fair winning pumpkin on top of his career. How'd he do it? How'd he avoid injury for thousands of games? Well, he didn't. On April 10th, 1985, Cal's 444th game, he sprained his ankle. But the Orioles were off the next day. Ripken got treatment and rest and was good to go for the next game. In 1992, during his 1,713th game, Ripken twisted his other ankle running out a double. But the injury didn't stick to him. He limped into second, was treated on the field, and looked fine moments later. In '93, Ripken had what he refers to as his closest call. He was 340 games away from Gehrig's record, and during a brawl with the Mariners, ran toward the scrum, slipped, and twisted his knee. The next morning, it was stiff and swollen, and the O's had a game that night. Now, if he was too hurt to really play, Cal could have just limped in for an inning to keep his streak alive, but that was absolutely not what he wanted to do. If he was too hurt to help the team, he wasn't going to play. Before the game, an MRI revealed he had a first-degree MCL sprain. The Orioles trainer doubted Ripken could play, But he could. And pretty well, too. So what gives? How can Ripken avoid serious injury and recover from minor ones like Wolverine? Well, part of it, I'm sure you could have guessed, he takes really good care of himself. Like Gehrig, he has a high pain tolerance. And we have to admit there's some luck involved. He's lucky to have never gotten in a car accident or... actually, I don't want to list the ways he could get hurt. That kind of seems like bad karma, and you get what I mean. Additionally, there's also luck involved because he seems to have been born with stronger body tissue than other people. That statement is based on anecdotal evidence, but let's indulge it as we try to understand a streak that defies logic. In an Orioles clubhouse game that Ripken invented, teammates take turns bruising each other's ribs with their knuckles. It's called the rib game, naturally. And while you might think there is no winner in this game, guess again, because Cal Ripken never bruises. Look at him tonight. Ripken doesn't have the worn-down, hunched-over body language you'd expect from someone who hasn't taken a day off in 13 and a half years. Now, of course his streak had to survive more than just injury scares. What if he got benched?
Baseball has a rich and celebrated history, and so does Blue Moon. Brewed with Valencia orange peel, coriander, and the spirit of baseball, this twist on a traditional Belgian-style wheat ale was first crafted at the Sandlot Brewery inside Coors Field.
That idea was lightly floated in 1988 when the Orioles lost their first 21 games in a row. Nobody's safe when your team sets the record for worst start, and that includes Cal Ripken. Especially because Ripken went 0 for 29 in the first half of April. But O's manager Frank Robinson stuck with him, and Cal quickly ended the slump and the he needs rest conversation. Until June 12, 1990. Ripken was about to play his 1,308th game, thus passing Everett Scott's record for second most consecutive games. He was also slumping. The streak was again blamed, and this time the criticism was sharper. The streak wasn't an accomplishment, it was a stubborn pursuit. It was the problem. And that stubborn pursuit had kind of taken on a power of its own. Did Robinson want to go down in baseball history as the manager who ended the best chase to Gehrig's record we might ever see? And how about Ripken? He couldn't really ask for a game off without becoming the guy who couldn't catch Gehrig because he slumped. But it's not like Ripken was torn. He in no way thought he needed a day off. And judging by his performance in 1991, he didn't. But 92 through 93, the slump returned. The MVP season was easily forgotten, and the anti-streak rhetoric turned up a few notches. But the Orioles stuck to their guns or continued to be handcuffed to the streak. And because they did, what could have been a rather ordinary top of the fifth at bat instead has this whole stadium buzzing with anticipation. No one on a higher frequency than this guy. His streak survived injuries, calls for benching, and more. More? August 12th, 1994. Major League Baseball players went on strike. The owners wanted to impose a salary cap. The players did not want their salary capped. And so, we got no baseball. With no end or compromise in sight, the owners planned to play the 95 season with replacement players. And if Cal stayed on strike and missed those games, that's curtains for the streak. There were strong implications from the players' union that they'd understand if Ripken crossed the picket line, but that is not at all his style. It's the same philosophy as back in 1993 when he had that hurt knee and said if he couldn't help his team, he wasn't going to play. Ripken doesn't play for the streak. But there was another wrinkle to this story and another stroke of luck for Ripken. The Orioles' owner was not your average owner. Peter Angelos became a man wealthy enough to own a baseball team as a labor lawyer. He spent his entire career fighting for the working man, so he wasn't about to side with management for the first time ever. He stood up to the other owners over and over, but the biggest boon to Cal? Angelos absolutely refused to use replacement players, calling it a foolish enterprise, among other things. Refusing to field a team of replacement players wouldn't save the streak. The Orioles would just forfeit every game on their schedule, and Ripken wouldn't play in those games, so the streak would end. But by taking a stand, Angelos put a lot of pressure on management to abandon their replacement player plan. And Ripken's streak was part of that pressure. Angelos essentially asked the owners how'd they like to go down in history as the group that ruined the streak so they could save some money. But before the 95 replacement player season started, the courts ruled against the owners, the strike ended, and Cal got to keep his streak going. It was the best thing that could happen to baseball. Look how happy everyone is tonight. They made signs that aren't derogatory. Kind of a rarity this year. Fans were pissed about the strike. While millionaire players and billionaire owners fought over who should get even richer, we got no baseball. Real cool. So when baseball returned, fans weren't exactly grateful. On opening day, a plane over Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium pulled a banner that said, "Owners and players, to hell with all of you." Mets fans charged the field and threw money at players. Wait, don't give them more. Nah, it's fine, don't overthink it. As the season went on, baseball's image didn't exactly improve thanks to a handful of very classy incidents. Players flipped off their home crowd, hit/poked hecklers, and completely dismissed fans in the press. But then there was Cal Ripken Jr., a family man, a regular milk drinker who once turned down a lucrative underwear endorsement out of a sense of decency and modesty. He's humble, he even shies away from the fame of the streak. He never set out to break Gehrig's record. He just set out to play baseball with integrity. Ripken might be a bit milquetoast, but he's also an antidote to all this. In fact, Ripken was credited with saving baseball. Plus, he's been fun to watch as of late. His numbers leading up to tonight haven't been too shabby. And tonight, with the Orioles up 1 in the bottom of the 4th, Ripken said, "Hey, everyone who thought I needed a rest. Watch this."
He clobbers it to deep left field. Going, and gone!
This game is not a cameo appearance. Cal Ripken is still contributing to his team, and that's why he's still playing. And just about one whole inning later, we're here. 1 out away from Ripken officially playing in 2,131 consecutive games and breaking an unbreakable record. This streak seems so fragile. Injury could have taken it down. Performance could have taken it down. A millionaires versus billionaires money fight could have taken it down. Yet it still stands. Ripken still stands. And runs and jumps and hits homers. A symbol of what baseball was and what it can be. Integrity inside iron. Welcome to a moment in history.
This game, with the Angels trailing, is now in the books. And let it be said that number 8, Cal Ripken Jr., has reached the unreachable star.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Give us a subscribe, check out these other videos, have a nice day, followed by a nice night. For Secret Base, I'm Clara Morris. Good night and good game.